Admiral Zethkar stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching the primitive blue-green world rotate slowly before him. Earth, the latest target for incorporation into the galactic hegemony. His crimson eyes scanned the tactical displays showing the deployment of his fleet. 300 warships, more than enough to crush any resistance this backwater species might offer. "Sir," his tactical officer reported, "we're receiving a transmission from the surface." On screen, the holographic display flickered to life, revealing a middle-aged human female in what appeared to be civilian clothing. She had graying hair pulled back in a simple style and wore an easy smile that immediately put Zethkar on edge. In his experience, prey species either cowered in terror or raged defiantly when faced with the hegemony's might. This human did neither. "Greetings," the human said cheerfully. "I'm Director Sarah Chen of Earth's First Contact Protocol Division. We've been expecting you. Would you like to come down for coffee?" Zethkar's mandibles clicked in confusion. "I am Admiral Zethkar of the Galactic Hegemony. You will surrender your world unconditionally, or we will take it by force." "Oh, we understand completely," Chen replied, her smile never wavering. "But before we discuss anything important, wouldn't you like some coffee? We just received a fresh shipment of Ethiopian beans yesterday." The bridge fell silent. In 3 centuries of conquest, no species had ever responded to the hegemony's ultimatum with an invitation for beverages. "This is irregular," Zethkar muttered to his aide. "What intelligence do we have on this coffee?" "Unknown substance, sir. Preliminary scans suggest it's some form of plant-based liquid." Zethkar straightened his battle armor. "Very well. I will beam down with a security detail to accept their surrender properly. Perhaps this beverage is part of their submission ritual." An hour later, Zethkar found himself sitting in what humans called a cafe in downtown Geneva. The space was warm and inviting, filled with the rich aroma of roasted beans and the gentle hum of conversation. His security detail, 10 of the hegemony's finest warriors, sat around nearby tables looking thoroughly out of place in their battle gear. Director Chen set a steaming mug in front of him. "Try it," she said. "Just a sip." Zethkar eyed the dark liquid suspiciously. His species-enhanced metabolism could process most organic compounds safely, but protocol demanded caution. Still, the aroma was intriguing. He took a tentative sip. The effect was immediate. The bitter complexity hit his taste receptors like a revelation. Warmth spread through his thorax, and his mind seemed to sharpen with sudden clarity. His mandibles clicked involuntarily in pleasure. "Good, isn't it?" Chen asked, settling into her chair with her own mug. "That's a medium roast from a small farm in the highlands. The soil composition gives it those subtle chocolate notes." "This is..." Zethkar paused, taking another sip. "This is extraordinary." "What did you call it?" "Coffee. It's made from roasted beans of the coffea plant. We've been cultivating and refining it for centuries." She leaned forward conspiratorially. "Would you like to try some other varieties?" 3 hours later, Zethkar had sampled 17 different coffee preparations. His notebook, a device he hadn't used since his academy days, was filled with observations about flavor profiles, brewing methods, and bean origins. His security detail had long since relaxed. Several of them engaged in animated discussions with local humans about something called latte art. "Now," Chen said, refilling his mug with what she called a dark roast from Colombia, "let's talk about this whole conquest situation." Zethkar looked up from his notes, momentarily confused. The morning's military objective seemed strangely distant. "Ah, yes, your surrender. Well, here's the thing," Chen said, stirring honey into her coffee. "We're not really interested in surrendering, but we are very interested in trade." "The hegemony doesn't trade," Zethkar replied automatically. "We conquer and absorb." "But think about it," Chen continued. "You conquer us and you get one more subjugated world producing standard resources. You trade with us and you get access to something unique, something that could transform your entire civilization." Zethkar took another sip, his mind racing. "The caffeine," Chen had explained the compound responsible for coffee's effects was unlike anything in hegemony space. His thoughts were clearer, his reflexes sharper. He could imagine what this substance could do for hegemony efficiency, for military alertness, for scientific innovation. What exactly are you proposing? Chen smiled. Cultural exchange. We share our coffee and the knowledge to cultivate. Go with your hegemony. In return, you share your advanced technologies with us. Both species benefit. The Hegemony Council would never what? Turn down a substance that could increase productivity by 30%? Reject a beverage that enhances cognitive function and morale? Chen's eyes twinkled. Admiral, when was the last time you felt this alert? This focused? Zethkar had to admit she had a point. He felt more mentally acute than he had in years. His chronic joint pain from decades of military service seemed diminished. Even his mood had improved remarkably. There would be complications, he said slowly. The hegemony has protocols, procedures for conquest. Then maybe it's time for new protocols, Chen suggested. The universe is vast enough for cooperation instead of conquest. 6 months later, Admiral Zethkar, now Trade Ambassador Zethkar, stood in the same cafe, reviewing shipping manifests on his tablet. The first hegemony coffee plantations were showing promising yields, and preliminary reports from the capital indicated a 15% increase in administrative efficiency since coffee had been introduced to government workers. More remarkably, 3 other species had approached the hegemony requesting similar beverage diplomacy after hearing about the human arrangement. The concept of trade was spreading through the galactic community like cream through coffee. Chen approached his table carrying 2 mugs. Your usual? She asked. Please. Zethkar accepted the mug gratefully. In the past half-year, he'd developed quite specific preferences. Medium roast, 2 sugars, just a splash of what humans called cream. Any word from the council about the Deltarian situation? Chen asked, settling into her chair. They've agreed to coffee diplomacy, Zethkar replied with satisfaction. It seems the Deltarians have something called tea that pairs remarkably well with coffee in a beverage they call yuanyang. The Cultural Exchange Committee is very excited. Chen raised her mug in a gesture humans called a toast. To the power of a good cup of coffee. Zethkar clinked his mug against hers, a human custom he'd grown fond of. Indeed. Who knew that the path to galactic peace would be paved with coffee beans? Outside, ships from a dozen species docked at Earth's orbital stations, their crews eager to experience humanity's greatest diplomatic weapon. The galactic hegemony still existed, but it had evolved into something unprecedented. A voluntary association of worlds united not by conquest, but by caffeine. And in a small cafe in Geneva, 2 beings from different stars shared coffee and planned a future neither of their species had imagined possible.